I always used to get incredibly nervous before speaking in front of large crowds until I learned the psychology of my nerves. I was able to dive deeper and understand it better. And through using the principles I'm going to share in this YouTube video, I was not only able to speak in front of 2,000 people with confidence and comfort and receive standing ovations, compliments and praise, compete in public speaking competitions and win, but now I use it to help rising leaders deliver high stakes speeches. So let me quickly share my screen to this Google Doc I've compiled. And so at the top, obviously, I have a heading, the psychology of people who get nervous before big speeches, why nerves show up, and how great speakers use them instead of fighting. So what's really important to note is that the nerves are not necessarily the problem we are facing here. The nerves, this emotion we feel, this anxiety is incredibly normal. And it really dates back to almost ancestral, native, primal days of humanity. And this leads me into my first point, which is the thief versus tribe leader mindset. And so if we went to go back into caveman times and we were standing in front of a large crowd, 2,000 people staring at us, 4,000 eyeballs fixated on us, and everyone is looking at us, and we're at the center of attention, there would only really be two scenarios where that would happen. It's either one, we're a thief, and so the entire tribe has to look at us, and the leader says, "Hey everyone, look at this berry nibbling, stealing rascal. Look at this POS, this piece of sugar honey iced tea who's stealing our berries and ruining the fruits of our labor. Everyone look at him, take note of him. This is the enemy. This is a thief. He's in trouble." And we have to stand there like a thief, like a victim. Or we're the leader. We're the leader standing in front of everyone. In this case, we're calling out the thief. But either we're in trouble with the tribe, or we the ones commanding and leading the tribe. We are the ones speaking to them, telling them orders, giving them insight. We are the leader. And so it's very important to understand the distinctions between a thief mentality and a tribe leader mentality. So for the thief, the nerves stem from fear of being judged. And I found that oftentimes when I am in maybe an uncomfortable situation, right? I'm sitting on stage, whoever's gone before me is introducing me. I can feel the nerves. I found I become very tight. And because I feel that the crowd is judging me and that everyone is cold and almost against me at times, that's definitely not the case, but it feels like that at times when you're sitting on stage and you're nervous and slightly afraid. You can become very stone cold and reserved and expressionless. And your face tends to tighten up and you don't show much emotion. And you might cross your arms to try and appear more masculine or competent. And you become very reserved and cold. And because you think the crowd to be a certain way, you end up mirroring them. And so you have this big fear of being judged by the crowd. So you end up trying to minimize the judgment. They can't judge your crooked teeth if you're not smiling. They can't judge your appearance if you're a bit more reserved and not really expressing your appearance. So your body closes up, your voice becomes colder, and we mirror what we think the room to be like. That is a very important idea to get a hold of. What we think the room is, we end up mirroring that. If we think the room is very judgmental and cold, we end up being very judgmental and cold. We become reserved, we keep to ourselves, we don't smile, and we don't show much expression. Right? But the tribe leader, this mentality understands that we are simply a mirror of what we believe the room to be like. So if we understand that this is our tribe, we are the leader, chosen to speak before them. We are here for good reason. We end up becoming more, we show our expression more. We speak with more, emotion in our tone. We're not afraid to express our warmth, to smile, right? We're not afraid to show our genuine self. There's no fear of judgment. Why? Because we are the tribe leader, all right? And it's very easy to just say this, but an actionable step I've found this, which works really well, is smiling, intentionally smiling. Because not only does it trick your brain into perceiving the room as warm, but I keep wiping my eyebrows. It's really hot in this little conference room. But by forcing a smile, it tricks our brain to feel the sense of comfort, warmth, almost joy. All right. So even when we are nervous, and yes, we are slightly cold, and we do fear a bit of judgment, it's very important to fake a smile, to just smile. Because what smiling shows is it really just screams confidence. I've pointed out before that, for example, in a boardroom like this, many people, there's a whiteboard here and they have to present and deliver some data and information and stats and a pie chart. And they have to elaborate and explain it with data and science. People are very used to speakers in these situations sounding a certain way, giving bland, mundane, concrete information with not much life to it, not much passion or emotion. They're used to people being nervous in environments like this, playing it safe, not taking much risk. And so if you can come along, smile, it completely changes the dynamic of your whole presentation, because people are not really smiling, just signals you're comfortable. You're yourself. You are comfortable speaking in this room. And so when you can signal that, especially in rooms where people are not really, they're meant to be almost nervous. They're meant to almost not be so comfortable. They're meant to almost have something to prove. If you can come along and smile and show some warmth, show some authenticity, show the fact that you're comfortable in the room, that speaks wonders. So not only for yourself, but in letting your audience know that, see it, and feel it. And right, even if you're nervous, even if you're not necessarily comfortable, just by you mimicking or replicating the appearance of someone who is, changes the way you feel on the inside. And so an affirmation I've said to myself time and time again is that I am the tribe leader. There are these two scenarios here, thief and tribe leader. And if you can just affirm and align yourself with the positive role, you'll get really far. Because the key idea you want to understand here is the way we act and appear and move on the outside is ultimately what affects us on the inside. And that leads me to my second point, which is you can't control feelings, only your signals, right? You can't switch the nerves off. It's not a command. There's no cheat code you can type in like a video game. But you can control how they are expressed, how they show, how you look when you're nervous. And so what you want to focus on is you want to focus on forward movement. When you open your speech, I'm going to have your arms out to the side like this. Let me get up here quickly. I hope you can see this. When you open your speech, you want your arms out to the side like this. Boom. You want to step forward, all right? Opening your speeches with a step forward. Let me just quickly check and make sure. Yeah, okay, my webcam is good. Forward movement whenever you're opening a speech. Slower your pace. Your tone, speak slower. That just signals comfort with silence, comfort with the room, comfort in the moment. Moving your body slower. Same thing. If you're jittering around like a 6-year-old on rock candy, it doesn't signal competence. It shows like you're running around doing tricks for your audience, hoping you get their approval or something. A power hand pose, revealing your palms when you speak, going back to our primal ancestral instinct, open palm signals there's nothing in our hands, so we come in peace, we're safe, which immediately puts your audience at ease. Hands out to the side, like this, like I mentioned in the start. When you open your speech, you want them out here. Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Luca. And once again, smiling. Smile when you speak. Smile when you greet. Smile when you deliver a speech, present, or have an analysis you have to explain on a whiteboard. The way when you change your body, the mind follows. When you change your appearance and how you act, your emotions follow. That is, I don't know if it works the other way around, and I don't really need to know, because I know that this works. If you can look, once again, there's an unconfident, nervous, shy speaker, and there's someone who's confident. The audience doesn't know who feels what, but they can observe it and see it. So if you can just have your actions look like the confident one, they'll perceive you as confident. And if you can act like the confident one, your mind will think you're the confident one. Change the way you act and express this emotion, and your mind will follow. Another affirmation I mean, the tribe leader one, I used to use a bit more in the past, and I found that it works quite well for me. But what I've been using now is, although it seems like some woo-woo positive self-talk jazz, let me elaborate. It is, I'm going to be okay. And what this does is it removes this negative thinking. I wrote here this catastrophic thinking. And it lets you speak freely. And you become at peace with the opposite, unfavorable outcome. And I wrote a quote here. Only once you accept the possibility of defeat can you freely pursue victory. And what I mean by this is that whenever we approach any scenario, there's generally two outcomes. Either we win or we lose. Failure, success, right? And most of the time we want to win. We want success. We want victory. But we need to accept and embrace and be at peace with the opposite outcome potentially happening. Right? So yes, we are in pursuit of victory. We are in pursuit of the speech going really well, receiving a standing ovation, people remembering it, complimenting it. But when we close our eyes and imagine and feel the possibility of us failing and no one applauding and it going horribly wrong, and we look at that scenario and we think to ourselves, hey, even if that did happen, if it does happen, I'm going to be okay. I can imagine myself in the shoes of future Luca saying a speech and it going horribly wrong. And the people hate it, the jokes don't land, it sucks. I go home crying. I look at that possibility and honestly, I'm okay with it. Even if that happens, I'm going to be okay. And it is only once you accept the negative outcome, when you're at peace with that, only then can you truly speak with confidence, truly speak with freedom. Because then you're not tied to this outcome, right? Because no matter what happens, bottom line, you'll be fine, right? So for my personal life, when I used to play tennis at a slightly more competitive level, I'd play a tournament, and my next opponent would be someone I'm slightly higher ranked than, I should win. But they've got a funny playing style. You know, they don't really hit the same typical serve. They have a slight slice that goes into your body. They're a left-handed player. They're a bit tricky. But I've beaten them before, but I've also lost, and I can win, but I should win, but something's off. When I look at the outcomes, and I look at a world where I lose, and everyone says, bro, how'd you lose to him? He's lower ranked than you. And my coach comes to me and he says, bro, you gotta jack up. When I look at a world like that scenario, that Luca, and I'm at peace with it, When I say, even if that happens, honestly, I'm going to be okay. When I accept that outcome and I can live a life where I never achieve this goal, only then can I truly play my tennis match with freedom. Only then can I pursue victory, not being tied down by this fear of defeat or, the outcome. Only then can you truly achieve the positive result and succeed here. And this isn't a life lesson here, don't take it from me, trust me, but in terms of public speaking, if you can simply understand that, hey, it's just a speech, it's just a presentation, no matter what happens here, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be okay, even if this sucks. Only then can you truly speak with freedom. Only then can your speech really stick. Only then can you receive that standing ovation you so dream of. And now I have a important, verses here: scripted versus spoken. Right? Most nervous speakers, they have a script which they've written down word for word, and it's essentially perfect. They've sat down, they've had time to collect their thoughts, to structure their ideas and their points and the story and the argument and everything in a very logical order, and everything follows and is smooth, and they know it. They've used good big words that make them sound even smarter. They have the entire script memorized, the perfect things to say. But the problem with this is that you're not public speaking, you're reciting. And you're not speaking to anyone. You're just standing there reciting your very good copy, but it's just being said into the ether, and it's not really going into anyone's psyche here. And so I found that this really stems from people don't really know what points are actually important, right? So everything, that's why they recite everything, and they say everything, and they memorize everything. But that's not how we want to be going about it, right? So what we want to use is something called Roman rhetoric. And yeah, I've studied this, I listened to lectures, read books on it, and I'm not going to explain exactly what it is in this video. If you want that, if you want me to explain it, just check the link in the description, because it's free, and I'll help you, because I've got the time on my hands now. But essentially, there's important points to a speech, right? There's, for example, let's say my speech is on climate change. Obviously, the most important point will probably be what my opinion of it is. Climate change is bad. And then climate change kills turtles. And then climate change, this is how we can fix it. Those three things are the important ones. Bad, kills turtles, this is how we fix it. But we don't have to go and memorize everything in between. All right, so what we do is we use rhetoric to highlight these important elements. Right? There's different rhetorical devices like chiasma, like antithesis, like anaphora, but we use rhetoric to highlight these three important these points here, the important elements of our speech, and then we just use bullet points and our natural trail of thought to bridge the gap between these important points. So what this looks like is in a story. I always open up my speeches with a story. In the story, I've obviously already lived it, experienced it, written it down, journaled about it, collected my thoughts, structured it a bit better, applied some storytelling techniques to it. My techniques are in the link in the description. It's all free. I recommend you check it out because, I don't know, it's free. You cook up a story, but then I don't have to go and write it out and memorize it word for word because I know the story. But what I'll do is I'll take the realization at the end of the story, because that's the important part. That's what transformed me, what changed me. That's the lesson I have to give to my audience. I'll take that, and then I'll just use my natural train of thought to lead up to that important point. And then I'll use rhetoric to then highlight it. And then there'll be another point. Boom, climate change is bad. And I'll use natural bullet points and natural speaking to lead up to it. And then boom, rhetoric to highlight it. And then again, natural speaking and bullet points to guide my brain, guide my thoughts, and then boom, Roman rhetoric to highlight it. So it's not about writing this entire speech, which everything's important. It's like highlighting everything. And you have to say everything and study everything for the test and memorize everything for the test. No. We have the big speech, highlight that, highlight that, highlight that, rhetoric. And we have bullet points and natural speaking skills to bridge the gap between these points. So what more effective speakers do is they speak to the audience. They react in real time. They sound human. They're not at all restricted by being perfect, right? And the key idea you want to take away here is that the thought out script, it could be better, right? It could be better than if you just speak. But what's important to note is that if you can speak to your audience, they actually gain more from it. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what you say or how much you say, but how you say it. And so if we can naturally speak and connect and have this authenticity to our speaking and connect to our audience, in previous videos, I've used the analogy of storytelling as creating this big pathway. And the bigger we can make this hole in the wall, the bigger the vehicle my microphone got slightly messed up. The bigger we can make this hole in the wall through connection, through natural speaking, through being human, through storytelling, the bigger the vehicle we can send through. The vehicle here would just be our information, our important points we want the audience to get from the speech. All right. So by actually speaking to them and connecting to them and just being yourself, the bigger we can make this hole in the wall and the more important elements we can send through this hole. So it's not about, saying the best written speech with full stop here and grammatically correct and you can remember and recite everything. That's better for you because it makes you feel better. But if we really want to give the audience the most amount of feedback here and help here and information here, we owe it to them to speak in this manner. And there's also the pressure myth. People feel pressure to speak a certain way, to look a certain way, to sound like the guy before them or girl before them. They want to perform like a good speaker. And I know I said mimic confident people. And, people often make the mistake of taking what the person said before them and just add a bit more information. It's like, oh, okay, their study was outdated. 2018, let me just update that. 2016, ChatGPT. Oh yeah, AI is going to take over the world and we're all cooked. But I think we can both agree here that most previous speakers weren't even that good. And what I want you to understand here is that the bar is even lower than you think it is. Right? The speakers we're used to aren't that good. No one is this memorable, amazing, captivating speaker. So why on earth would we go and model what they did, take that and just, piggyback off of it? It doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying we need to go and reinvent the wheel here. You can go and copy them, but you'll just end up like them. I'm telling you to take a bit of a risk. And I know it's crazy, it's big, it's weird, but just for a second, imagine being yourself in your speech. I don't know exactly who you are just yet, but I'd imagine you've got something to you. You've got your own jokes, your own humor, your own personality, your own opinions, your own voice, your own thoughts, your own words. So speak the words of your choice. Be yourself. Smile. Make that joke. Say something real. Say something that has meaning to you. Don't let other people tell you what you have to speak on in your speech. You can. Maybe it's a presentation on, the expiry dates of milk. Add a story to it. Make it your own. Make it authentic. Make it personal to you. And I want you to understand here what's most important in number 5, the pressure myth, is to break patterns. Patterns. We are used to speakers before us sounding the same way, sounding a certain way, delivering the same kind of monotone speech, having similar references, similar studies, similar impact on us, which is negligible. So we owe it to ourselves to take the risk, to take that pattern, break it, forget about it, leave it behind because it doesn't stick and it doesn't work. What we have to do is we have to take a bit of a risk, add a bit of personality and humor and authenticity to the words we say. Smile when you speak, be yourself, make that weird joke, just break patterns. And I have another quote here. You can say whatever you want with your audience, to your audience, except bore them. Please. You can come across as a bit silly, a bit stupid, a bit, hey, is this guy really right for the role? But please don't bore them. Because what's the worst case? You're remembered. Oh, you're the guy that said that weird tongue twister, Sally sells seashells on the seashore, for the opening speech. That's a bit weird, but hey, he remembered it. It's you know the term nonchalant? There's all these people acting nonchalant now. And it's cool to be reserved and, yeah, I don't really care, dude. Yeah, I'm not really going to express myself in my speech because, hey, too cool for this shit. But everything you want, you have so much more to gain. You have so much more to gain than them because they just remain in the same pattern, the same loop, on the same level, but the level's already so low. They just get swept under the rug. People forget about them. Their speeches don't land or stick or move or touch anyone. So you have nothing to lose by just being a bit more human, a bit more authentic, and a bit more you. So please just break patterns. Don't try to sound like the speaker before you. I trust that you have enough competence to say the words of your choice. Say what you want and follow it and own that decision. And please just break patterns, and whatever you do, don't bore your audience. And what you have to remember, this is like a summary, it's what you have to take away from the video, is that you are not under attack. You're the chosen one to speak. Because for that moment, you are leading the room. For that brief moment when you're standing there, about to speak with the microphone, and everyone has their eyes and attention fixated on you, you are the leader. You own the room. You are the one they follow. And remember this, you show warmth first, you speak to your people, don't just recite data to them, break patterns, don't be boring, and please remember, you're going to be okay.